All right, here we go. We got a little promo action here from Rick Rude on the set of Flair for the Gold.
Look at this.
Lays a big kiss on Flair's wife.
Oh,
Wendy. Fifi, the French Maid.
Oh my God, look at her. She looks mean.
She is.
Whoa, man, slapped him. She is mean. Slapped him in the face. Rick saying, look, she's running my life. Whoa.
Behind the belt.
I don't think he said that, but he could have said it the way he was looked and turned to us.
Here's what Flair's saying.
Your answer. Sorry. Hey, next week. You okay, baby? You gotta understand things like that happen. Next week, we go again. I'll Flair for you. Okay, honey? Huh? You all right? Next week, we go again.
Look at this. The Nature Boy Ric Flair getting submarined by ravishing Rick Rude. Spins him around. Wham! Rude awakening. And that's how you get a title shot, Tony.
You're a gold digger, and Flair has the belt.
So there you go. Rude tries to plant the Rude Awakening kiss on Fifi. She wants nothing to do with it. Slaps the face of Rick Rude. Flair says, well, there's your answer, pal. And as he's trying to console her, bam, he gets nailed from behind with the big gold belt. Rude cuts a promo. You're a gold digger. And here we go. Our world title match, not our NWA world title match, but our world title match nonetheless.
It's way too long, huh? Already.
What?
Wait a minute. Was that what Ole said or what Meltzer said here? Way too long.
30 minutes, 47 seconds. He says, Flair came out with Fifi, real name Wendy Barlow. The funniest Fifi story came a few days before the match when they were doing satellite transmission to hype the card, with Flair being interviewed by several TV sportscasters from around the country. The satellite was already on with Flair and Fifi, who's never been put in this position before, asked Rick what happens if someone wants her to say something in French or wants her to speak in French. Anyway, Rick pretty much said he'd cover for her. It was never a factor. However, in the second interview, Rick did the entire interview talking about what Rick Rude did to Wendy. Rude is nowhere near the wrestler he was during the first half of 92. The disc injury from late last year is either much worse than anyone is letting on, because Rick used to be a bump machine and he doesn't bump hardly at all anymore, or Rude simply doesn't care about having good matches anymore. Given that Rude doesn't bump and he's a heel, then nearly every match he's had on a big show of any length over the last year has been awful, even with a legendary guy who can carry anyone. Who decided for this to go 31 minutes? The first half of this match was terrible. Flair had never been in a match this bad on pay-per-view, except for the one he had with Sting where he played the Black Scorpion. This match picked up from there and ended up with all of its drawbacks, still being easily the best match on the show, which is only faint praise. The last 9 minutes were very good, but not great, but the damage had already been done. Rude went for a pin after the fist drop, but Flair kicked out. Rude then went after Fifi. Fifi slapped him. Rude then started kissing Fifi and she struggled. Flair came back, goes wild, puts Rude in the figure four. And with the ref attending to Fifi, Rude pulls out a gimmick, hits Flair with it, and gets the pin. 2 3/4 stars. And there you go. Flair in the ring now with his most beautiful robe ever. Would you disagree?
No, I would not.
I mean, under the lights, it's just nonstop sequins. And it feels like, you've got a real robe in one corner. And then like, I don't know, like the great value robe in the other corner with Rick Rude here.
I wonder if this is the match where there was a match where Rude, accidentally blew a big ball of snot on his mustache. You know, as he's breathing heavy, then he turns and he kisses Wendy with that ball of snot on his mustache.
I think that was Halloween Havoc. I could be wrong.
Okay. All right. I remember thinking,
because that's the one where he had her painted on the face, or her face on the pants.
Okay.
I think. I might be wrong on that.
Okay. We'll see. You know, when you talk about a match is good or bad or too long, or you criticize a match, and I get it. Everybody has their favorites. Everybody has their idea of what they like in a match and what they don't like in a match. First of all, a match, I don't believe, can be a 5-star from beginning to end. There's peaks and valleys in matches. But if you come out of the match thinking, hey, that was pretty good, then what the fuck? Maybe he doesn't bump like he used to bump, but still, if you come out of the match saying, hey, I enjoyed that match.
Let's see what Rude says here.
Thing to say to you, boy. Tonight, when I leave this arena, not only am I going to have your reputation, not only am I going to have your world title belt, but Ric Flair, I'm going to have your woman.
Oh, my. Whoa.
And he reveals the tights, and it's got Fifi, the French maid, over the front of his crotchal area, as Bruce would say. And by the way, she's not dressed like a French maid here.
No, she's stepping out. A French maid would only dress as a French maid if she's had a flair for the gold and working for him, but now she's stepping out.
The big gold belt on the line here.
I'm sure later that night she'd been stepping in.
No, at this point, I think she was married and Rick was married. So there's no way that Rick would.
Yeah.
Well, never
Sorry.
mind.
No way Rick would tap that if he knew she was married and he was married. What was I thinking? Sorry.
JR had a great call at a live show years ago. He said, Rick's wife was married, but he was single. I don't know why that tickled me, but it did.
It tickles me right now. God, Rude looked great, didn't he? Jesus. He looked exactly the way you wanted a wrestler to look.
How do you want him to look? Like this?
Like Rick Rude. There's Wendy.
Fifi is her name.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's Wendy. Hey, Fifi.
She'll answer to that in public if you call her that now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. That's good to know. So Rude was in the middle of, Rude had some degenerative back issues here, right? At this time.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Sting is going to be the end.
Right.
By the way, in the news and notes of the Observer, Meltzer would report that a Missy Hyatt calendar would be released for the Christmas season. Did you pick that one up?
Did not.
Huh.
Never saw it. There was. All right, let me tell you about my life in the 90s here.
Okay, can't wait.
Okay. I was very much into my kids back then. We'd go to Disney every year. I was a baseball coach, and I very much attempted to, because I traveled a lot. I attempted to be a good father and be very attentive to the kids. So when the matches were over, or I didn't have any work to do, I went home and paid attention to my family. I didn't read dirt sheets. I didn't know of anything that was going on in WCW because that was not the focus of what I was doing. And now, as I stand in 2019, there's a lot of what I did back then, or how I conducted my business back then, that I regret. But there's a lot that I don't regret because I knew I was a good father. There was a lot of people, a lot of guys in the business who traveled probably a lot more than I did, who probably would say they weren't a good father and they weren't there for the children. You can never say that about me. And so that I don't regret. But the fact that I was not in tune with the business, in other words, I didn't know what was going on in the WWE. I didn't know what was going on in the ECW or the formation of ECW, or I didn't know about Missy's calendar, or I didn't know what merchandise we had. It's probably the wrong thing I should have done, which I will not make the mistake again because it's just me and Lois. And not worrying about going to a baseball practice or going to see a kid.
Hang on. Is there something you need to tell us?
No.
Well, you just said, now it's just me and Lois. I'm going to devote my life. You got some big plans? Are you going to get on that first show on TNT and throw the microphone down?
You can talk all you want to about that faux pas, but I'm going to edit it out, motherfucker.
By the way, the last line in this issue of the Observer Ole Anderson really isn't much a part of the key decision-making process. Eric Bischoff has the ultimate power, although Dusty Rhodes is thought by the wrestlers as still being the most influential. Since most believe at this point, Dustin is going to wind up being the person to unify both world titles.
Wow. Wow.
You know,
Wrong about that.
you talking about the way you handled your business back then and the way you handle it now. And, you know, there's so many guys who were obsessed back then and never stopped being obsessed, whereas you weren't, and now you're trying to get back in. But when you're in a primetime spot, one of the most lucrative jobs in professional wrestling belongs to Tony Schiavone now. And when I think about that, I think about all the people who might not be happy about that. Some of the people who were your friends and some of the people who were your haters. It's one of those deals where, you know, you want your friends to do well, just maybe not better than you. And that makes me think of, our next Tony Reed's rap song today, Many Men. This is going to be a slightly remixed version for Noah Anthony Schiavone, but I've got the instrumental keyed up. If you've got the lyrics on your side, I think I emailed those over.
Yeah, you did. And first of all, I'd like to say people who hate me are people who don't know me. And I hate anybody use the word hate. I like people to say, I just didn't like his commentary, or I didn't like him as an announcer. I hate to say I hated him. I mean, Pro Wrestling Illustrated and Stu Stacks and all those guys used to use the word Schiavone haters. And I'm thinking that's a terrible thing to say. You don't know me. Oh, and by the way, Stu, fuck you. So anyway, this is called Many Men.
Yeah, Many Men. I'll go ahead and drop that funky beat for you if you got your lyrics.
I got it queued up. Can I give you a countdown for it?
Sure.
So I can be right on time. Let's do Many Men in 3, 2, 1. Man, so we're getting something to eat, man. I'm hungry as a motherfucker. Hey, yo, man. Damn, what you talking, homie, so long, son? Conrad, calm down. Here we come. What the fuck? Son, pull up. Pull up. Manny Marks, wish death upon me. Blood in my eye, dog, and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be. And Mark's trying to take my life away, but I put a phone the smart marks for thee. I'm back on the wall now. You're going to see. Better watch how you talk when you talk about me, because I'll come and take your life away. Manny Marks. Many Marks, wish death upon me. Lord, I don't cry no more. Don't look to the sky no more. Have mercy on me. Now these three remarks are putting money on my head. Go on and get your refund, motherfucker. I ain't dead. I'm in the diamond in the dirt and I ain't been found. I'm in the underground king and I ain't been crowned. When I rhyme, something special happen every time. There's something like Ali in his prime. I walk the block with the bundles and I've been knocked in the humble. Swinging the ox when I rumble. Show your ass when the gun do. Got a temper, Mark, go ahead. Lose your head. Turn your back on me. Get clapped and lose your legs. I walk around with a gun on waist and chip my shoulder till I bust a clip in your face. Pussy, this beef ain't over. Many Marks. Many Marks. Wish death upon me. Lord, I don't cry no more. Don't look to the sky no more. Have mercy on me. Mercy on my soul. Somewhere my heart turns cold. Have mercy on Manny Marks. Many Marks. Wish death upon me. The sunny days wouldn't be special if it wasn't for rain. Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. Death gotta go be easy cause life is hard. I'll leave you physically, mentally, and emotionally scarred. This for the slapdicks on the block, twisting trees and cigars for the slapdicks on lock, doing life behind bars. I don't see only God can judge me cause I can't think clear. Things and crackers give me a black ass 100 years like I'm Paulie and Goodfellas. You can call me the Don, like Malcolm in many means with my gun in my palm. Slim switch sides on me, let Marks ride on me. Thought I was cool, but why you want to die, homie? Many Marks. Many, 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 many marks. Wish death upon me, Lord. I don't cry no more. Don't look to the sky no more. Have mercy on me. Mercy on my soul. Somewhere in my heart turned cold. Have mercy, many marks. Many, 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 many marks. Wish death upon me. Night I talk to God, but he don't say nothing back. I know he's protecting me, but I still have to say with my cat. I mean, in my nightmares, I keep pulling the texts on me. Psych says some bitch dumpling put a hex on me. The feds didn't know much when Brody got stabbed. I got a kite from the penis that he told me. I say penis. Blackjack got knocked. I ain't going to spell it out for you motherfuckers all the time. Are you illiterate, Mark? You can't read between the lines till the Bible says what goes around comes around. Almost shot me. 3 weeks later, he got shot down. Now it's clear that I'm here for a real reason. Cause I got hit like I got hit, but he ain't fucking breathing. Many marks. Many, 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 many marks. Wish death upon me, Lord. I don't cry no more. Don't look to the sky no more. Have mercy on me. Have mercy on my soul. Somewhere my heart turned cold. Have mercy on many, many, many marks. Many, 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 many marks. Wish death upon me. Wish death upon me.
I think you're getting your stride on Tony Reed's rap.
You know what? That's a good fucking song.
Between back then, Many Men, Tupac hit 'em up. I think we're playing the hits, baby.
Man, that's that. I got to give 50 Cent, man. And did he write that too?
Yeah.
Okay. He writes his own shit. Okay, good. That's good stuff, buddy. I mean, that's got a very dark tone to it, right? I mean, shooting and killing and all that, but that's a good song.
So, next week, Afro Man, Because I Got High. You excited about that one?
I guess. Is it mumble rap?
Well, you were mumble rapping the shit out of back then.
Well, that's because I'm a white guy.
And you censored your own self on the word pussy earlier too, which I was a little shocked by.
Okay.
You scared of pussy?
Well, no, I just you try to keep up with the beat, and then you kind of get behind. You just run shit together. I don't think
nobody expects you to keep up with the beat, buddy. That's why we're doing it.
Okay. Well, there you go.
There's not an expectation this is actually going to be any good.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about the rap?
Yeah. We don't expect that you're going to be any good at this. we sort of revel in the fact that you're not going to be.
I just, let's hear for 50 Cent. 50 Cent. Good shit, man.
I like you corrected your enunciation there.
Yeah.
By the way, this is a long ass match.
This is a long ass match. And as we know, this is a shitty show.
We should mention that the main event is the one with the Shockmaster.
Good God.
Yes. That Shockmaster. Pretty excited about this too. Just because he's in it. It's going to go 16 minutes.
16 minutes is not much for a War Games.
Right? Meltzer would say, there were a few decent spots, but it was mainly standing around and easily the worst War Games ever. Horrible camera work didn't help. The finish epitomized the entire show. Shockmaster grabbed Cole in a bear hug. Cole was right there looking at it and waiting for someone to stop him from making the save. Sorry, Kane was. It appeared that was Smith's job, but he wasn't there. So Kane just looked like a guy who knew he was in a bad position and had no idea what to do, and looked and looked and looked and looked until Smith finally grabbed him. Star and a half. Of course, Cole and Kane are, what would go on to be Booker T and Stevie Ray.
Right.
So yeah. A world heavyweight title is what we're calling this match right now. Famously, the whole NWA shenanigans or a real issue. You guys weren't drawing a ton at the house shows in this era too, but house shows look like this: Brad Armstrong versus Tommy Angel, Rick Steamboat versus Lord Steven Regal, Eaton and Knobs over Anderson and Roma, Davey Boy and Sid Vicious, Dustin and Sting versus Rick Rude and the Equalizer, and then Flair and Orndorff for the title.
Yeah.
The NWA did run some shows. We should mention they tried to run a show in Charlotte, believe it or not, at the end of August, just 2 weeks after WCW ran it. They had Buddy Shane on the card, Brad Anderson, Susan Green, Judy Martin, Jay Eagle, Wahoo McDaniel, and Manny Fernandez. So Wahoo and Manny on top in Charlotte, you would think, okay, I could see it. It drew 135 fans.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think? What a sad state of affairs when Wahoo McDaniel, a fucking legend in wrestling, booked, in the twilight of his career in a main event on top, 135 fans in Charlotte.
No issue. No angle. Nothing on TV to make you want to see it. That's the whole rub there. See, I always thought, and this kind of surprised me, I guess. When I came back to WCW in 1990, I was still very much I thought in my mind, an old school guy, that I thought house shows were important. I thought TV shows were, as they were back then, TV shows were nothing but a commercial vehicle to get you to come to the show, to a house show, and that's where you drew your money. And we would go into these long meetings with Jim Hurd and Jim Barnett. I've told you many stories about Ole being in there and everything. And they would have Jody Hamilton in there, and a lot of times Kevin Sullivan was in there too. And they would give them all the house shows. They say, you guys book the house shows. And they would book the house shows, and they would write up the house shows, and they would pass them around, and everybody would look at them. Everybody would say, great job, Jody, great job. Because no one gave a shit about the house shows. No one gave a shit about it. And I always thought the guy who books TV should book the fucking house shows. Now, as a house show booker like Jody, you knew what the TV angles were. I understand. But I always thought that should come from one place. And that showed me when I came back that no one gave a fuck about house shows. That was the last thing on their mind. And I never thought that was right. And therefore, when you say house show business was not good back then, no one gave a fuck about house show business back then. And no one gives a fuck about it now, do they?
No.
I mean, really. WWE, they run house shows, but that's not the focus of what they do. SmackDown and Raw.
I do want to mention something that happened a couple weeks prior to this show. Shane Douglas did an interview with a newspaper in Pennsylvania. He's talking about his new career as a teacher, and he's being critical of Eric Watts and Dustin Rhodes being in the spot they're in because of their dads, and critical of WCW bringing back Ric Flair. It's also claimed in this story that the TBS board of directors voted to shut down the company if the ratings didn't improve by November, which Meltzer would say isn't true. Quote, although there apparently have been some people on the board who have wanted to drop the company at various times. Do you remember ever hearing that, hey, if we don't get our shit up by November, we're going to get shut down?
Yep.
So whether it's true or not,
we heard that a lot. And this is the time that rumor was floating around a lot. And this is the time that Ted Turner came to the Omni and met with everybody and assured us that we wouldn't be shut down. And it was the very famous meeting where Leon says, it's so exciting to meet you. Could I have your autograph? And everybody went, oh, what the fuck? Because he sounded like a little whipped puppy talking to Ted Turner. But I think because of those rumors were floating around, that's why Ted came and visited with us. And I remember Ric Flair out of it says, well, it's going to make for a great Christmas now. And Ted said during that meeting, he said, there's been a lot of talk about us shutting WCW down. He said, we're not going to shut WCW down. He said, hell, CNN lost money for 10 years. And now it's doing well for us. So that was the boss saying at that time that we weren't going anywhere. And that also, thinking about that, what I remember in my mind, once he was out of the powers, once he was no longer in power with Turner Broadcasting, I knew it was only a matter of time.
We should mention CNN started June 1st, 1980. So right. He would have only been a handful of years into profitability if that 10-year statement is true.
If, I don't know if that was just a line or what, but that's what he said. He said we lost money for 10 years.
I know this is a weird thing to say, but a lot of people say that the coverage of the Gulf War is really what sort of put CNN on the map, which would have been 2 years prior to this?
Yeah. 91.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing that would come out in the newsletter here from this interview with Shane Douglas, quote, he also claimed he'd seen a lot of drugs in the locker rooms and talked about homosexuality among wrestlers without going into specifics, and said he'd never leave teaching again to wrestle, but would wrestle part-time for ECW.
Huh. Why would he talk about the business like that? I mean, I like Shane, but Jesus Christ. I just don't get it.
Which part don't you get?
You just, as it's going on now, we go back and we talk about shit that we've seen now as it relates to what happened 20, 25 years, 30 years ago. But as it's going on why do you shit on the business like that? Oh yeah, I saw drugs. Yeah, I saw homosexuality. I saw this shit. Bullshit you did.
Here's the thing though, like, what a weird sentence that is in 2019. I saw homosexuality.
Yeah, it is.
What? Yeah. You mean you're awake? You mean you're alive? I mean, you can see, hear. What does it matter? That's just a weird statement now. I mean, I know it's a different time. I saw somebody tweeted the other day, I wish Conrad would quit saying it's a different time. But fuck, it was. Like, I just watched, my wife had never seen Eastbound and Down, I can't believe that's a real thing, but she had never seen the Kenny Powers character. So I showed her some, and there's like the whole, Don Johnson scene where he, gets reunited with his dad, and Don Johnson drops the F-bomb right away, like to start the episode. And it's like, whoa. I mean, that show's 10 years old, and it's like, oh, I don't remember that. But it's, so it's just, we've evolved as people, baby.
Yes, we have. And to say that you're tired of hearing someone say it's a different time, then you need to realize that time moves on, that things change. In other words, my response to you saying that Conrad, he's sick and tired of Conrad saying it's a different time, my response to you would be, get fucking with it. It is. Well, I know it's a different time.
I think his point was, people were offended when those things happened back then, and we don't need to apologize for it. We need to be offended now for what was happening back then. And I get that. I understand it. I'm not in a position to judge how someone else, felt about all that, because, that's not my circumstance.
Right.
But I can say that it was, I don't know, more socially acceptable, but it was more prevalent, and now it's less. And I'm glad that it's less. I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. I want everybody to enjoy our show and everything we do.
Right. Because I see this as when people ask me to describe our podcast, I say it's just two friends loving wrestling, watching wrestling together.
Busting each other's balls.
Ripping on things. I mean, we rip on Ric Flair all the time.
Yeah. And
because he fucking deserves it.
One of your lifelong good friends and my father-in-law, and we shit on him, and we shit on my brother-in-law, and we shit on Dave Silva and Bruce Pritchard and all of our friends. It's what guys do.
Right.
Well, it's what we do.
Yeah, it's what we do. I mean, Listen, part of growing up in the Schiavone household was always busting each other's chops, as we said, or busting each other's balls.
And eating donkey dicks.
And yes, that too. And so then when I got to know you, when I first met you, I was thinking, man, we've been in the minor leagues of busting balls.
Well, here's the deal. I have grown up in sales, so from the time I was 14 years old, I was involved in sales. And when you have a sales organization and it becomes a bunch of rough and rowdy, 20s and 30s and early 40s dudes who are all getting told no 19,000 times a day, just digging through for those 8 yeses. And you got to keep positive. You develop a really, really thick skin to
Right.
know, or people hanging up the phone, or, just rudeness in general. So it's just no big deal. So you find ways to entertain yourself. And the way to entertain yourself is, you can't be mean to the customer. You're just mean to your coworkers and it becomes fun.
Right.
Like, there was a guy at the office, who we nicknamed Baby Nuts.
Okay.
May or may not be my cousin, but my cousin, Baby Nuts.
Did that have anything to do with the size of his nuts?
Well, here's the deal. Here's the reason it came about.
Yeah.
He was describing his penis one day and he said, "It's little, but it's mean," which I think was one of the greatest descriptions I've ever seen or heard. I mean, that's the most Schiavone phrase I've ever heard. And you didn't even say it. It's little, but it's mean.
I like that. Well, we have a good time on this show. We hope you do. People are not going to like everything we say, everything we do. I get it. When our AEW show debuts, a lot of people are going to say, God, I didn't like that guy. A lot of people will say, hey, I miss that guy. But, never say that you hate something, because there's enough hate in the world. There is. And I hate to be that way, but there is enough hate in the world. You tune in CNN, you tune in Fox News, and it's just, this person hates this person, hate. Stop it. You can dislike something, don't hate it. Okay? That's my line for being a parent here today. Lighten up. Lighten up. And I'll tell you why. I know you're going to lighten up. Life is short. Once you get to my age, you realize how short it is. That's the secret of life that no one finds, that no one realizes until they get to my age.
It's little, but it's mean. So anyway, I decided to name him Baby Nuts because I thought Baby Dick would be too offensive.
Baby Nuts.
Hey, Meltzerwood writes, some of the new B team wrestlers are being brought in for $150 per show. Wow. And they have to do all their own driving, including the ring crew having to drive from Atlanta to Indiana for the shots a few weeks ago. For the main guys, the long drives are said to be 450 miles each way. So you drive 900 miles and you make $150.
And you're paying your own expenses, old school style.
Yep. At the
that was wrong.
Beginning of the month, Sid Vicious walked out of the September 1st Dothan, Alabama TV taping, but it looks like eventually you guys would work it out. Quote, Vicious, according to several on-site sources, refused to take a drug test and said he'd take it in a few weeks. Apparently he was told that he'd put it off long enough and he didn't take it then, he'd be fired. And before being fired, he just walked out. If it hadn't been rectified, it would have been a disaster since Vicious was all over the pre-tape TV and scheduled for the main event for the next 2 pay-per-view shows, War Games and a singles main event against Sting at Halloween Havoc that had already been, printed with ad slicks sent to all the cable television. So how about that? No, I'm not taking the drug test. I'll take it in a few weeks. Well, what's the sense of having a drug testing policy if you're not going to fire him right then?
Right. Exactly.
I'm asking, why didn't you just fire him right then?
Well, I wasn't hiring and firing. They should have fired him right then. They should have said, thank you. You know, I can't comment on drug testing because I know it's done, but I never did.
Did you ever pee in a cup?
No, I never had to. And I never did take drugs except legal prescription drugs.
Oh, that's not true. You got high as a motherfucker in Las Vegas this year.
Okay, but during my run at WCW, I never took drugs.
It was legal, by the way, when you did it in Las Vegas.
Right. It may have been legal in Las Vegas, but had you peed in the cup, I mean, you know, a guy could go to Las Vegas on NFL team, NBA team, or she slapped him right in the old kisser. Ooh. Watch out. Holy shit. But anyway, no, I never did take drugs, never did pee in a cup, and I never did. I would like to see back in the day how they did drug testing.
Well, they probably had him take his penis out of his pants and then pee into a cup.
I understand how they physically did it. I didn't buy drug testing back then. I thought it was all a sham. I did. I thought it was all a PR stunt.
So there you go. Here come the brass knuckles. Oh, got him. He stuffs them back on his dick hole. And now he's going to cover him up.
Back on his dick hole.
2, 3, new world heavyweight champion. The big gold belt is going around the tiny waist of ravishing Rick Rude. And there's Fifi there to kiss and make it better.
Yeah, boy. I think that, for not the greatest Flair match ever,
it wasn't as bad as he made it out to be, but
no, it was not. I thought it was a pretty damn good finish.
New World Order and the Crow, Thunder Russo, Arquette Champ, Vinnie Mac, simulcast. Tony's back with Conrad, not your classy podcast. Watch along, try not to laugh. Lowest rules can't pass. This wasn't the initial plan. Tom Zigg's a good-looking man. Klondike Bill, make a chant. Tommy, you come over.